I wanted to come in and speak about this while it was still fresh in my mind. So, the subject I want to talk about is friends give the worst dating advice, especially if you're a woman and your friends are women. I don't know what it's about, women with each other. I guess it's about not wanting to see your friend hurt and wanting to see them happy. I guess they just want to see you happy. They don't want you to have any moments of pain. It was like happy, happy, happy. Don't admit you got played, whatever, right? So I remember when I was married, and this is before social media. So the only way you really would communicate is we still had landlines. You had your cell phone, text messages, and your email. And back then, using text messaging was pretty expensive. You used to have to pay per text, and then cell phones you used to have to pay for a certain amount of minutes per month. So using email was probably like a cheap way to communicate with someone, for a man to communicate with somebody they were having an affair with. And my ex-husband and I both had AOL accounts. So this is when you had to pay for America Online. I'm not sure if we still had dial-up. He wasn't the kind of person. He was the kind of person who always wanted new technology. So I don't think it was dial-up, but we still had to pay for America Online and the email addresses. And you had a separate account. So, but we shared one desktop computer. So I remember one day, it was always the issue of, okay, who got to use the computer? Because I think back then, I used to do a lot of AOL Instant Messenger, because again, those were cheap ways of keeping in contact with people, especially if they're far away. So I used to do AOL Instant Messenger with my college friends. I remember especially doing the presidential and vice presidential debates. That was around 2008. I used to do a lot of Instant Messenger, AOL Instant Messenger. And also back then we used to use BlackBerry Messenger as well. So I'm kind of dating myself. But I remember he had forgot to log off of the computer. And then I had came across these emails from his ex-girlfriend. And the best way I could put it, they were nude pictures she had sent him. I think she had just had some type of plastic surgery. I don't know if she had a breast lift or tummy tuck. She had some kind of plastic surgery, and she was sending him pictures of her nude body after the surgery. And I remember when I saw that, being very, very, very upset. And this is 4 years into the marriage, and thinking to myself, this is over. It's time to break up. This, you can't come back from this, right? And people you talk to your friends. It's like, oh, have you tried marriage counseling? Oh, have you thought about what you've done to contribute to this? And I listened to this, and I did marriage counseling, and I thought about what my contributions to this was. And I gotta be honest with you, now 14 years later, I'm like, it was all bullshit. My first instinct was, it's time to let this go. How do you come back from that? You are married, you have a 4-year-old child, you're living together, and you're still in contact with an ex-girlfriend. it's pretty much a wrap after that. So I did the marriage counseling. I continued on, and I gotta say, it just got worse and worse and worse. He continued to be in contact with this woman for at least another 4 years before it looked like they ended it. I think he ended it maybe 5 years later, like in 2010, and then he went, no, it wasn't 20, yeah. So it was like 2020, 2010, 2011, I think as far as I know, they weren't in contact with each other, but that's a long time. So we got married in 2004. I found out about it in 2008. He had been in contact with her for like a year at that point. So from 2000, as far as I know, from 2007 to 2011, he was just having this emotional affair. As far as I know, I really think it got physical, but I just have no proof. So I'll just call it emotional, but I really think they got physical. He had this affair with this ex-girlfriend, that this girlfriend didn't even want him. And he just went on. The woman got married and everything. They still kept going. And I even had a female therapist like, oh, wait, just work it out. Like, it was like, come up with alternatives to make the marriage work. It was all bullshit. I don't understand. Now I look back, I done wasted so much time. I wasted my 20s and my 30s on this, and now I'm in my I'm about to be in my mid 40s, and terrible advice. The best advice is that you gotta trust yourself. You gotta trust your intuition. You gotta trust that you know what's best for you. And I think what it came down to was that I did not have the feminine education that I have now. As far as I learned from that experience, is like when you allow a man to, when you are with a man and you allow for the housing to be in your name only, even if he put the money down for it, it's going to be very difficult to get him out. Any variation of letting a man move in with you, it's going to be very difficult to get out, especially when they start to cheating. It's because they got nowhere to go, or they don't want to go back. I think in my situation, he didn't want to go back with his parents, and his parents, especially his mom, was like, oh, well, he pays half the rent, he pays half the mortgage, so he needs to stay there. He's entitled to stay there. And it was like the place was in my name only, and it was kind of like, I would leave him, but I'm leaving him. Where am I gonna go? Places in my name, right? It was like I felt entangled in a knot. Like I felt very trapped and stuck. Like, and I think it was basically by design. And nobody had informed me, like, hey, if you move a man into a place with you, even if he put the money down, I've had friends say, oh yeah, I had the credit, but he had the money. I said, girlfriend, don't do it, because when it's time for it to be over and done with, the place is tied up in your name, right? Don't be putting stuff in your name if it's not completely yours. And if it's like, if you are a woman, I'm gonna say this, and you have your own place, do not move a man in there. If you're a woman and you're with a man and he wants to do some type of 50-50 scam, as far as, oh, I have the money, you have the credit, put things in your name, don't do it. It's a trap. It's a scam. It's not worth it. It really isn't worth it. And I think, I am a woman kind of just saying that was just not the ideal situation to get out of marriage. It took me 17 and a half years, almost 18 years to free myself from marriage, from a situation where the person obviously was using me for lack of a better way, using me for housing. got out the marriage. I got my own apartment. It's a modest 2-bedroom apartment. I live here with my 2 kids. I share a room with one of my kids, and one of the things I noticed is that I'm not attracting men who are trying to move in with me. If anything, I guess if any man were to come and see this whole setup, like, oh, you have no privacy, I ain't coming over here. So I don't know, but I will say to my friends, hey, don't move a man in with you. It's a terrible, terrible mistake. If he needs to be able to stand on his 2 feet, and he needs to be able to procure housing for you and to provide for you. And if you are going to be in a relationship with somebody, let me back up. I personally have decided, because I'm still open to dating, I personally decided I'm not going to purchase a house because I don't want to attract someone who's going to be trying to move in with me, because I'm still, open to dating. And I think when I get to the point where I'm not open to dating, that's when I'll be interested in maybe purchasing a house. But I just don't, I don't want to put myself in a situation where basically I have established myself as the provider, and then I'm moving somebody else in with me, and then they're just paying me rent or whatever. To me, that's just not, that's out of order. That's not in God's design at all. And I know several women that's what they did. They had their own place, and they moved one man out and another man in. And to me, that's not it for me. If it is as much easier as a woman if you move in with that man, for if things go sour, for you just to leave, and if not, your name not be tied up in it. It's much easier for you just to leave. So when I finally was able to leave my husband, it was like we had an apartment together, and once that lease was up, I went and got my own place, and I told the leasing officer I'm not renewing this lease. My ex-husband, I said if he wants to maintain the apartment on his own, he can. It was like, well, we were renting a townhouse. If you want to maintain the townhouse on his own, he can, but I'm out. I told him I am out. And that was the easiest way to go when you don't have a mortgage tied up in your name. If anything, if you will move a man in, let it be your apartment that you lease, not a place that you own, because at least when the lease is up, you can just not renew the lease and move on. But you shouldn't be moving some guy in with you. It doesn't work. So the other thing about female friends giving bad advice, is that I had dated someone, and I was like, man, I don't know, I really like him, but I think these are a couple of red flags. And look, I hadn't dated in like almost at 3 years at this point, and my friend was like, oh no, just go for it, those aren't red flags, those are yellow flags. And there were starting to be more red flags, and I would tell them about it, like, oh, he's like checking out somebody else while he's with me. And they're like, and I mean, we're not together, but we were just kind of just in the discovery dating phase. And I was thinking I should say something about it. I'm like, that's kind of making me feel insecure, and my friend was like, girl, you just being neurotic, don't worry about no other woman, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, now I'm looking back on it, it's like, I just should have took that as a red flag if the guy wasn't really into me like that. If he, he wasn't, be honest with you, at the very beginning, he said he wasn't looking for something, he wasn't looking for a serious relationship. He was more focused on trying to get his career together. and he wanted to build a friendship with me. And I was just so smitten, like the way he was like pouring into me and just making me feel like a star. I was so smitten that I was like, I thought, this would be a good person to try to have a relationship with. But then, when, what was it, like 3 months in, yeah, 3 months in after knowing he was kind of checking someone else out in front of me, it made me uncomfortable, and I did not make a big deal about it at the time, and maybe it was one of those things where I should have just walked away. But I was so excited to be hanging out with him at that point, and I thought about it afterwards. I was like, yeah, that wasn't really cool. And now I look back, because we're not dating anymore, I look back on it, it's like, you should just take that as a sign. He wasn't really, like, he liked you, but he didn't have any serious interest in you, and he's still looking for someone he can get serious with. The fact that he was checking out other people, and it's funny because the person he was checking out was kind of the same tribe as me, but was, I'll say, with like a higher pedigree of a caliber, like, like you can tell, like, she's been pampered. She had more of a pampered lifestyle, and I didn't have that kind of pampered lifestyle. And that's why me of a higher pedigree, like, came from a family where, she might have been a little bit more spoiled and pampered and didn't really have to do much. And she was used to that, and that's what she expected from her man. Whereas from me, I didn't come from I'll give you a perfect example, right? When I was growing up, I was expected to learn how to use public transportation and not necessarily ask for a ride from people in my family. If I wanted to go somewhere, I had to be independent and do it on my own. Whereas I knew of women and other families, it was like, oh no, you're not getting on the bus, you're not getting on the train, that's dangerous. My daughter, my wife ain't riding the train at 8 o'clock at night. Okay, I'm gonna make sure she has a car. I'm gonna make sure I pick her up and drop her off. I didn't come from that. I came from an environment, like a background, where it's like you was kind of expected you kind of be independent and figure out things on your own. I'm not saying people left me out there 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and I'm saying that, when I went away to college, like a lot of people, their parents got them cars, made sure they got them cars, or made sure they went to if they did not have the means to get them a car, made sure they went to a college that was close enough to the family, so that if the family needed to get to that child, then the family needed to get that child to pick up, drop off, it was not like a big hardship. So, other families would have just made sure the kid went close by. I guess maybe hang around with women that may not have had a different type of upbringing, where it was like everything was like a Disneyland experience. They have not experienced the hardship I have. Like, they don't attract the same type of man that I attract. So trying to listen to their advice is terrible. I feel like I'm smarter than them. If I had like this Playboy type come and try to holler at me, my Disneyland friends are like, you deserve a chance to be happy too, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, now I'm looking at it like, this guy is not into me. He's checking out other women in front of me. Don't you think that's a red flag? Yeah, it's a yellow flag. That's what they say. Yellow flag. This guy is like just texting me, hello, beautiful, in the morning, but he's not actually calling me. This guy used to call me every day and used to call me several times, and now I'm lucky he calls me once or twice a week. Oh, well, maybe he's sick. Oh, well, maybe he's busy working. Why don't you just give him a call so I could show him how desperate I am for his attention? And actually, that's what I ended up doing. I took that advice, and then it just like I got tore up. That advice was terrible. Like, I would have been better off just kind of sitting in my, like, wow, this guy stopped calling me. I guess I need to just let it go. That's like kind of what I was really kind of start to think. I was like, oh, this guy has stopped, like was calling me every day, but then he stopped. I was thinking maybe he lost interest. Maybe I should just let this go. Maybe I should take it as he's ghosting me. And like a friend will be like, oh, why don't you call him? You can call him. It goes both ways. You can call him. I had more. Actually, my sister did that too. Said that too. I'm like, and I took that advice. Man, I'm all tore up. Man, this guy thinks that I am desperate. That guy thought I was desperate for a relationship with him, and it's like now it's kind of like, you know what? I'm just taking the loss at this point. You know, that was terrible advice. I should have just. That might have been just one of those tests men do to see how desperate you are for them. And I failed. And you know what? I learned a lesson. I will never let a man bait me into chase him ever again. So your friends give horrible advice. Listen to your intuition. Listen to the Holy Spirit. Sit down and be mindful. And if you have a moment of pain, of okay, they're not interested anymore, don't listen to your friends say, oh girl, don't worry, he's definitely gonna call you. And he might call you a month from now, or he might have met somebody else. Just chill out, relax, just sit there and feel everything you're feeling. And just breathe and relax, and know that if that person really is into you as a woman, if a man is really into you, and if he stepped back away from you for whatever reason, just live your life. Go back to some of the activities you might have let fall by the wayside. And if he comes back in a day or two, be like, oh, this, that, and the other, great. And if he doesn't, great. You dodged a bullet. I hope this helps somebody. I've been rambling, but I had no focus to what I was talking about. But basically, just don't listen to your friends. Listen to your gut. Listen to your intuition. Trust yourself.